Welcome back. Thank you very much. It's 45 minutes after 8 here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. My guest in studio is a former member of parliament for the Okaikwe South constituency, the Greater Accra region. A constituency that has been very, very, very loyal to the New Patriotic Party. Also a former Minister of State in different capacities. And is here in capacity as Managing Director of the Intercity STC. Sorry about that. Akomea is his name. Welcome, sir. How are you, sir?
Thank you. I'm very, very well.
Good to have you.
And you?
I'm greater than Accra.
Okay.
You look good.
Well, you also look good.
How have you been these days?
I've been well. And apart from the difficulties at STC where we're trying to get some new buses, change the fleet. The campaign is going well. I'm deeply involved in the campaign. It's
Number
going
two
well.
in charge of the campaign for Dr.
Yes,
Akomea.
yes, and it's also going well. There's lots of hard work. But, hey, I've done politics since I left school, so I take to it like a duck to water.
What ran through your mind when the president said go to STC? You're a former MP, former minister.
The president didn't want me at STC. The president wanted me in a different capacity.
Okay.
I wasn't too enthused about what the president wanted me to do.
Okay. Would you like to share?
Yes, I mean, he wanted me to be ambassador.
Okay.
Yeah, to the United States or to Germany. And I wasn't too keen at that time to work abroad.
Right.
Yeah, and so by the time that the president decided that no, Nana Akomea doesn't want this thing, even though I've been trying to convince him, many of the positions were gone. There were just a couple of SOEs, state enterprises. And so I opted for STC because I thought at that stage, let me go to, I've done ministerial stuff for a long time, just working a bureaucracy. I said, let me go to somewhere where there's some difficulty and that when you make a difference, it can be seen. So I opted for STC. The president wasn't happy, but I convinced him, and then that's what happened.
Day one at STC, what was it like?
Day one at the STC, when I got there, you know, STC had been in decline for a long time.
Right.
And I had done a little background check. They had been given a new lease of life in the middle of 2016 when the previous government had ordered 50 buses for them.
Right.
Before that time, the government actually thought of giving it back to the private sector.
Okay.
In 2014, 2015. And my predecessor at that time begged the government to give it one more chance. And so the government listened, and in 2016 got them 50 new buses.
Right.
But before that, they had been in a long decline. There was an initial privatization of the company.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, but there was a company called Vanef.
That's right.
And they took over the company in 1999, 2000. But it didn't work.
Right.
And the government took it back under President Kufuor. And the operation had been topsy-turvy, really dire straits if you look at the record of operations. And there were many instances where Senate had to pay salaries, you know, for a long time. So, and they had to even let go of landed property. As we speak, there was some major land at Takra. They had to let the lease, give the lease to somebody else. Even the head office land, they had to let about 4 acres out to somebody else on long lease. Even the MD's bungalow was also let out on lease, all just to survive. So that really was the history until my predecessor convinced government to give it one more shot.
Right.
Government in 2015 got some buses for STC and for Metro Mass. So when I got there in the middle of 2017, they had these buses, the 50 buses.
These were the Scania buses?
These were the Scania buses.
The Unibank finance Scania buses?
Well, they were financed by government.
Government?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not by Unibank?
No.
Okay.
Now, when I got there, so they had this new leash of life, 50 buses. So there was a new opportunity.
Right.
There was a big problem.
What was the problem?
And my first task, my predecessor left it to me in the handy notes, and the board re-emphasized it. Out of the 50 buses, there were about 22 that were not moving.
Out of the 50?
Yeah.
There were 22?
That were parked.
So only 28 were on the road?
Yes.
Why were they parked?
Because they couldn't get passengers for them. The problem was that they couldn't break into Kumasi.
Okay.
Kumasi is the biggest commercial route for commercial transport.
Right.
And because of the long decline of STC, the Kumasi route had been totally taken over by other operators, particularly VIP and some new operators like OA and so on.
Right.
So, and these people, these operators, smart people, from where they were operating, STC had become totally cut off, and they didn't have buses for a long time. So really, nobody was coming to the terminal. Now they have the buses, but they have these competitors who are sitting at Nkrumah Circle.
Okay.
Now, the average traveler, you are not average traveler because I assume you have a car. So if you want to travel to Kumasi or anywhere, you can drive to STC and park your car and take a ticket for your car and travel.
Right.
But for anyone like you who can afford to drive themselves to STC, there are another 500, 600 people traveling who do not have cars.
Right.
They would take the trotro or the taxi from wherever they are, Dabraka, Osu, Latebiokoshi, wherever, in Kokomemle, and they would take the trotro. The trotro will bring them to Circle, Nkrumah's Circle. I'm cutting it short, Circle, meaning Nkrumah Circle. It's a huge transport hub. When they get to Circle, you had a VIP across the street. You had a VVIP on the left. You have OA on the right.
Right.
They're not going to come to STC, which is about half a kilometer away. So that was
on foot.
On foot, with their luggage. So they couldn't break into the Kumasi market, and that is why those buses were parked. They had been parked for maybe almost a year.
But the buses were functional, just that they were
new
parked.
Buses. I'm saying those are 50 new buses.
Right.
They could run about 26, 27 of them.
Okay.
Some of the routes that were still there, Cape Coast, Takrady, the north. But because they couldn't break into Kumasi, they couldn't deploy. They couldn't deploy all the 50 buses. And that was a major problem. So that was the task I was given. It was a challenging task. We did a lot of
3FM,
research, consultations to find out what the problem is. Some of the issues that came up, I don't need to bore you with them, but they were really funny. But eventually, we realized that where the terminal was a problem.
Okay.
And the problem is what I've explained to you.
Right.
In that the passengers were not going to come when they could get the same level of service right at Nkrumah Circle.
That's correct.
So to be able to come to the attention of the passengers, we had to move to Circle.
Okay.
Of course, there were internal disagreements. Hey, STC can't go. But I said, but you can't move your buses, and all of the buses are wasting. So eventually we got to Circle. We went to Circle, found some land close to the railway line, a small piece of land. We just started, put an umbrella down there for ticket and so on. And that first day, we couldn't do 3-4 buses to Kumasi That first day at Circle, we did 14 buses.
14?
So, yes, to Kumasi. So clearly, it was, we saw that was the right situation. Within 2 days, those 23, 24 buses were gone to Kumasi.
The buses that were packed?
Yes.
Because that road had become so competitive that they couldn't compete.
And people wouldn't come because they were available.
So Mohammed went to the mountain?
Mohammed went
or the mountain came to Mohammed?
You speak better than I do. Mohammed, the mountain where one of them went to the other. So that's it. Okay. So now we connected with the passengers. Long story short, within 2 days, the 22, 23 buses were in Kumasi. Another problem. They were not coming back. Because the problem that you had in Accra is the same issue in Kumasi. STC has a terminal, nice one, at a place called Edum, which is the center of Kumasi. Right. It has been disused, falling into disuse because of the long decline of the company. Right. The center of transport operations had moved to places like
Asafo, right. The M Plaza area.
Yes, and Kejetia and so on. So all these nice 22, 23 buses were now parked at Edum. Okay. Sitting there, they couldn't return to Accra. So 3-4 days, people are coming to the terminal at Circle because they hear STCs at Circle. They've got some nice buses, and there were no buses. So we had to go to Kumasi to do what we had done in Accra in Kumasi. So all of us went to Kumasi and found a place at Asafo. Okay. Our competitors were alarmed because they saw what we had done at Circle. And they saw that we were doing the same thing in Kumasi. So there was a bit of resistance. They said we're not members of the GPRTU, blah, blah. Eventually, about 2-3 days of wrangle. That was solved. And we got a place at Asafo. So now the buses, Circle would move buses to Asafo, and Asafo will get the buses back. And on a daily basis, after maybe 2 weeks, we're doing 40, 45 trips, 50 trips between Accra, Kumasi, and back. Right. Which is a major improvement. It affected the fortunes of the company. Our revenue shot up in excess of 5 million cedis at that time. Okay. Because this was the busiest, most profitable route. And we're doing about 40, 50. Mind you, our competitors were doing 80, 90, so we're still nowhere. But at least we're coming from 2, 3 to 40, 50, you know. So it was good. Shot our revenues up. The macroeconomic situation was stable. The CD was stable, which means the price of fuel was stable. Right. And indeed, over that period, fuel was about 28% of our cost. And when you added the other cost, spare parts and so on, we had a decent margin in those 3 years. And we managed to do a lot of things. We got 100 new young ladies, employed them as stewardesses to offer hot meals free to passengers. I'm sure you heard about it. Right. Between 2017 and 2019. Does that still happen? I'll come to it. Because our margins were very good. I mean, fuel, which is our major cost, was just 28%. And so we had good margins. We paid a lot of debts that we owed, Provident Funds, SNITs, suppliers that we owed, banks that didn't know STC existed were coming in a queue for our accounts. We even paid government 1.7 million as part of the loan repayment for the 50 Scanias. Never happened that STC was going to pay any money to government. I paid government 1.7 million to government's own surprise. Right. And we got all these banks coming now to come and do business with us. Suddenly, the 50 buses were not enough. Kumasi alone would take the 50 buses. Right. And then the other route. So we faced the problem of getting buses. We now had, and we had done new terminals all over the place because we saw that the positioning of the terminals was crucial if you wanted to make contacts with the passenger. So the 50 buses all of a sudden were not enough. And we're billed to pay government $1 million every 6 months. We had paid $1 million and we had paid 700,000. So we said to government, we need buses. The 50 are not enough. Why don't you allow us to leverage these payments that we're supposed to make to you? And leverage it to get new buses. Because we don't want taxpayers' money on buses. You're already giving us 50, we're happy, we want to pay you back. But we need to get new buses. So government was sympathetic. And we leveraged the returns that we're getting and got partial funding from 3-4 banks came with offers. We liked the one that ADB had brought, their terms, because that was not dollar denominated. And they gave us partial funding, and we got 100 new buses. That came in 2020.
The Daewoo buses, you mean?
The Daewoo buses, yeah. And there was a big tender. Everybody, all the Scania tendered, Daewoo tendered, about 6-7 bus companies tendered, and Daewoo won. Their pricing was good. It was $175,000 compared to $300,000 for Scania. And we wanted to turn around quickly and pay the money to the bank and so on. So Daewoo won. They went through.
Your people think that those buses were not durable enough.
I'll come to it.
I've asked you 2 questions that you are coming to. First,
which one is
the young ladies who were serving the warm meals? Are you still doing that?
Okay, no problem. Because I wanted to give you
but
a
we can always come back to the Daewoo buses.
No problem. The young ladies, like I told you, the margins were very good between 2017 and 2019.
Right.
So we're able to do that. The margins became squeezed after 2020.
Why?
So we had now ordered new buses. We were on a roll. We're paying back debts that were owed from 2012, 2013. We're clearing arrears, workers' arrears, Senate arrears, Provident arrears. And we had gotten 100 new buses. Unfortunately, the buses came in 2020, the new buses, and they came and met COVID. And we all know the difficulties with COVID. STC was particularly hard struck. One, we asked to do social distancing. That's a national policy, which meant that a 44-seater, you could only take 22. So everybody had a seat, social distancing. But your overheads were the same. You bought the same amount of fuel to Bolga, to Wa, to Ouagadougou or whatever, but your revenue had been cut into 2. And that went on for about 8 months. We lost a lot of money in those 8 months. But the bigger difficulty that COVID brought upon us was that we have a lot of business in Francophone. We have a big terminal in Abidjan, Ouagadougou, Lomé, and
Benin,
Cotonou.
Right.
And so the 50 buses, about 2/3 of them were servicing these routes, and the rest were serving the domestic routes. And that's why we're short of buses. And now we've gotten 100 buses, but they've come with COVID. They've just made, the buses came in February, COVID came in March.
12 March.
Yeah. So we had to do social distancing, which meant we were losing half your revenue for every trip. But more ominously, the borders were closed. So our Francophone business, which was about 1/3 of our business, in fact, Abidjan and Cotonou combined was able to pay salaries.
Okay.
They were knocked off. And they have a much more stable currency. So you could call it hard currency. So that business was knocked off for 3 years.
So COVID hit you, and that's why
it hurt us
the young ladies are no longer serving them.
So now in that period, and you also know the macro situation,
right.
The dollar problem, and fuel was directly dependent on the dollar, and we know how the fuel price were going up in tandem with the price of the dollar. Now, for a long time in that period, fuel was about averagely 50. Sometimes it went to 62%, but averagely 58 of our cost, just fuel. It used to be 27, 28, 27, 26, 28% in the period from 2017 to 2019. And that's how we had a lot of margins to do the things that we did.
Okay.
But now COVID had come. We've lost 1/3 of our business due to the border closure for 3 years, 2020, 2023. The macro situation that came with COVID meant that our costs in terms of fuel.
Right. I get your point about COVID. So I'd rather want us to compress the answer so that, for one time, because I also want us to talk about the campaign.
No problem.
But when you were talking about the Daewoo buses, your workers think that the Daewoo buses are not as durable as the Scania buses. They've raised a concern about the fact that the Scania buses came with spare parts and then 2 pickup vehicles that were used for operations, servicing and all of that. The Daewoo arrangement didn't have any of such.
Did they tell you?
And they said they are not durable. First,
no problem.
First, tell me what the situation is briefly, and then you can tell me what they are keeping away from us.
Scania buses, yes, like you're saying, they are more durable. They came with 2 pickups, service pickups,
right?
But they cost $300,000 a bus. The Daewoo cost $175,000 a bus. So the people who did the procurement and evaluation, because these are technical people. I'm not a technical person. I didn't take part in the evaluation. There's a procurement team together with the board and that did all the procurement. The argument was that we had to pay the loan over a time, 5 years. If we had everything being equal, we would have been able to pay the loan in 5 years.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when the COVID came, because of the closure of the border, we lost 1/3 of our business. Because, you can't adjust prices in tandem with fuel. And fuel rose from 26% of our cost to 58%. You added spare parts. So in that period, you paid for your fuel, you paid for spare parts, you paid salaries. There was nothing left.
So that's why you couldn't service the debt with ADB.
Oh, the debt with ADB. Yeah, I hear what is out there is 140 million.
Right.
It's now 85 million.
Because the loan was restructured.
And we are servicing. We're supposed to pay 3 million a month.
Okay.
It was restructured. And we are paying 2 million a month.
There are people who have raised concerns that if ADB found money to give to you to acquire those buses, and now they are restructuring, and then eventually they may restructure and then say, okay, we have cleaned it, there's nothing more to pay. That means money lost to ADB.
Well, the restructuring that we are doing, but a lot of bad debt came into the banking industry as a result of the COVID. A lot of it. And look at the losses that the Bank of Ghana made. It was all to make up for these losses. So it was a bad operating environment. But we are still paying 2 million a month,
right,
as we speak, to ADB. And the loan amount has moved from 140 to 85 as we speak.
Okay.
So we are still paying. But the thing about the buses is that by the standards of Intercity, when buses are 4 years old, you replace them.
Okay.
Yeah. And these Daewoo buses are 5 years old. So they are due for replacement. That is the bottom line. But of course, the Daewoos too have not been as strong as the Scania. Like I said, they cost 175. The Scanias cost 300,000 cedis. I don't even think we can afford Scania unless it's free. If it's not free, you'll not be able to pay back in those 5 years, you know. So if we hadn't gotten into the very difficult situation with COVID, and the buses had operated under the conditions that we were operating between 2017 and 2019, we will not be in this situation.
Who are the insurers of your fleet?
Enterprise insurance.
Enterprise insurance?
Yeah.
Why enterprise insurance and not SIC? Is government refusing to do business with government?
No.
Okay.
Enterprise insurance came with the bank.
The bank came with, or enterprise came with the bank?
They came together. So if you went to ADB as we speak, if your company, I don't know the name of your company, is it Media General?
Media General, right.
If you went to ADB for a facility to buy transmitters and get news studios and so on,
right,
your automatic insurance will be Enterprise.
I see.
Yeah.
So what happens to
SIC?
I
think that no.
Because in the past, was it SIC that insured your vehicles?
Yeah. We had SIC, but you have a choice. I mean, nobody imposes insurance on you. They all bid, and then you negotiate. And
that's what I'm asking you. Is government refusing to do business with government?
Well, let me tell you what I know.
Tell me, sir.
You asked me why Enterprise.
Yes,
and
sir.
I've said it came with the bank.
Right.
That's it. As to, I don't know what government is doing or what government is not doing as far as insurance.
Because SIC is suffering. SIC is really suffering.
I'm talking of ADB.
Right.
I'm saying if you went for a loan today from ADB, they'll say it's our money, this is our insurance company. And that's what happened.
I see. So it is not your doing?
No.
Okay. The terminal at the Kwame...
But they've been very good to us.
Okay.
They've been faithful.
Right.
They meet our claims promptly. So we have no regrets at all.
The terminal at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle.
Yeah.
Is it for STC or is it for a private person?
No, it's not for STC. Like I said to you, when we had a problem of moving those 22, 23 buses, and we realized that when we went to Circle, we spoke to passengers a lot. Why don't you come into STC? And we said, your place is far. I can't walk with my luggage half a kilometer when VIP is here. Always next to the Trotro station and so on. So that informed our decision to try Circle. And you know, Circle, there's no empty space.
Right.
The space that we got, Railways told us that it's been leased to a private transport operator called Daewoo.
Okay.
So, and the other side of the land where 2M, you know 2M.
Yeah, 2M.
Yeah, that one too had been leased to a private operator.
Okay.
So we met this private operator because we saw that they were not operating. We said, look, we hear this place has been leased to you, but you are not using it. Can we come to some arrangement? He said, well, I'm expecting buses. The buses are not in yet. So the buses should be in another 6 months. So you can use it for the 6 months. So it's a temporary arrangement.
Okay.
In the event, we use the place for over 1 year without any rent being paid.
Right.
Because the company expected their buses to come in any time. The buses were not coming. So after 1 year and a bit, they agreed that we get into a formal rental agreement with them. And so we did. And then we put up the structure that we have now. Because we couldn't put up any serious structure. We put up and that structure, we built it ourselves. And we put it there. And we had a rental agreement with them. And Nkrumah Circle is absolutely crucial for our operations.
Daewoo.
Yes.
And the Daewoo buses.
Yeah.
Is there a connection?
Yeah. They are the agents for the Daewoo buses.
Okay.
So when we were...
So did they supply the Daewoo buses to you?
When we were doing the purchasing, they also put in their... I've told you earlier that they won.
Okay.
They won.
Did they win because you already had an arrangement with them to use their land temporarily for your operations at the Nkrumah Circle?
No.
They won based on merit?
Yes.
And you say that the Scania buses are
because
much more durable.
we're already using Scania. So
right.
if anybody had a foot in the door, it's actually Scania.
So you brought in the Scania buses first.
No.
The Scania buses
were brought in
not
2016.
Not you. I'm saying the institution called STC.
Yes.
Your competitors are now using Scania buses.
Yes.
And then you decided to opt for Daewoo buses.
Yes.
I don't understand why you would choose.
Which company? We still have Scania buses.
Well, but your Scania buses, you say now have to be changed.
Yes.
Which is now you are in Turkey and
they are now
China.
9 years old.
Right. Yeah. And then are you going to replace them with Scania buses, or you're going to opt for the Daewoo buses, which have proven not to be stronger than the Scania buses?
Well, I don't know which buses will opt for, because there has to be a bidding process. But in the event, like I said to you, the Daewoo buses have not been as strong as the Scania. The Daewoo buses cost nearly about $150,000 less. But like I've said to you, if we had a chance to operate under the conditions that we operated in 2017 and 2019, we would have made some serious margins. And look, the Scania, if we operated under the conditions under COVID, you wouldn't be able to pay. You wouldn't be able to make any profit.
The Daewoo buses started giving problems within 1 year. The side glasses started falling off with no cause. Is that correct?
Yes. Those were defects that we identified with the manufacturer. They give us a supplier's credit.
Right.
So we brought all those difficulties to their attention, and it's been factored in the repayment of the credit.
Why was SNIT Provident Fund Tier 2 in arrears?
During the long period of decline of the company, like I said to you, the SNIT arrears date from 2013.
Okay.
Before I went there, 4 years before I went there, because of the difficulties that the company. Actually, the government was going to sell the company in 2015. Because of they didn't have buses. Salaries were being paid by SNIT. So how are they going to pay SNIT contributions? So the arrears date from 2013.
Okay.
The Provident Fund that we are talking about, the Workers' Provident, it did from 2012.
Okay.
The arrears.
Right.
When I got there, well, now they had buses, so we had a chance to operate. And then when we got there, we managed now to operate all the 50 buses. Like I told you, we reduced a lot of the arrears. The SNIT arrears, as we speak, we are now current. Every month we pay SNIT a little over 100,000. We have ring-fenced the debt, and we're paying the debt gradually. It is not 6 million like you were saying. It is about 4.5.
I'm not the one saying, it's your staff who wrote, the union who wrote in that press.
They were not current.
Okay.
But it's actually 4.5. So we have ring-fenced the debt that have been there from 2013. And we are current, so that the debt doesn't accumulate.
What happens? So the concept of SNIT is that my money is deducted, it is invested, the dividend comes to me, and all others who are contributing towards our future.
Yeah.
If the money stays in debt, it means that no money is being invested on my behalf towards my pension. That means my pension is hanging in the balance.
No, eventually it will be paid. Like I said,
it will be paid, but it will be then my contribution and not.
Let me tell you something.
Added value.
This morning, I hear government is releasing some billions to some pension fund.
Right.
I mean, there are many companies that during the COVID time were slack in their. In fact, if the COVID difficulty had not come, by now we would have paid off the SNIT arrears.
They said they are tier 2 is in arrears. Was this for 6 months or so?
Yeah.
6 months cannot be a 2013 problem.
Tier 2?
Yes.
Well, the main SNIT is the tier 1.
Yes. And then Provident is tier 3, and then they have tier 2.
Yes.
They say their tier 2 is in arrears for 6 months. That cannot be a 2013
But that means
problem.
the tier 2 was being paid off much faster during the time that we were doing well. Well, when you look at the records,
but 6 months is unacceptable. These are statutory payments. If I did that from a private company,
let me tell you
I'm sure that SNIT will put me before a court and throw me into jail or fine me or something like that.
In all the, and you've spoken to the workers.
Right.
And you've spoken to the union leaders.
Right.
In all the conversations that you've had, did any of them tell you that we are having these arrears because of a management problem?
They mentioned it. And then your statement reiterated
That what? They're having these arrears because of management failure.
Well, they said that it's been there. The arrears has been there, and
so you would agree that if we were not working together with the workers and the unions, the first people whose head they will be asking for is management. But because we've been working with them, anytime there's some good margin to be made, they are the first to know. And at meetings, they say, look, we have this margin. We believe we should take some to cover these arrears and pick this portion to these arrears and so on. We have a collective management situation.
So why did they go public then?
Oh, it's because they are not happy about a recent appointment.
Why do you want to do that appointment when you have a director in charge of administration, director in charge of finance, director in charge of operations, director in charge of technical services? Then you now have deputy managing directors, and you're bringing one for operations.
I don't want you to spend all the time. Listen.
And then, for example, they make the analogy that the bank that you went to borrow money to buy the buses, ADB, has only one deputy managing director.
Chief.
Yes,
Chief.
sir. Yes, sir.
You know that's not a fair question to me.
Why?
Because I don't make the appointment.
But you can make recommendations and say, because of our current situation, I think that we do not need these more hands because we already have people playing roles. You are on the board. Are you not on the board?
Okay. So today, 11 o'clock, when I leave your studio, the board is meeting with the unions because they've petitioned the board.
Right.
We will deal with it at that point. But I do not make the appointment.
But you are a member of the board?
Yes.
And when that matter came up at the board?
You see, there are two sides to
What did you say?
There are two sides to
yes,
it.
Sir.
The workers are saying that, so this new deputy MD, if we pay them 25,000, it's going to be 25,000 a month times 7 months. Maybe we can use that money to defray Senate. Or we can use that money to defray Provident Fund. So that's one side of the... And now we don't have a lot of buses, so we really don't need this top-heavy.
Right.
And I'll come to the buses too shortly. On the other side, somebody would say that this appointment is not an additional appointment.
Okay. It's an existing role and you're replacing it.
No.
Okay.
It is a replacement.
Okay.
So those are the two sides.
Right.
And when we go to the board meeting with the workers, we canvass. Now, on the matter of the buses, I hear they say, oh, we have 145.
45 and only 39
but
operational.
that is not the correct position.
What is the correct position?
The correct position is that these buses are not discarded because they are not roadworthy. They are at the various workshops. Doing
what?
Awaiting repairs. And so the fleet position available changes. As we speak, yesterday the report that I had from the operations and the mechanics was that 10 more have come from the workshops.
Okay.
We have workshops in Kumasi, Tamale, Accra. And so these buses are at the workshops awaiting spares to repair them.
Okay.
So the fleet position changes. So it could be 50 today, tomorrow it could be 45, it could then move to 60, it could then move to 70. So it is not like we are 145 buses and 100 have been thrown away and only 45.
How many do you have this morning, as of this morning when you got your
this
briefing?
Morning, yesterday when I got the briefing, 10 more have been added. So you're going to look at about 50 buses.
50 buses on the road.
Now, the other thing too, these are STC's own buses.
Okay.
But we have a lot of buses working because we also have this alliance, what we call an alliance arrangement, where private people can bring in a bus and ask us to operate. And we operate on a revenue share.
So the mini buses we see plying the Accra Plow, they are not your buses?
Some of them are ours.
Okay.
But majority are for private people.
And what is the arrangement?
The arrangement is that when we operate your bus, we take 15% or so, and you take 85%. So we take...
I see. The Pokwasi terminal, after we were informed that it will be affected by the road construction, we continue to spend so much money there, even though it's they say dormant. I don't know. What's the situation? The Pokwasi terminal.
The Pokwasi terminal.
Yes.
You said it's what, dormant?
No, they said you have been informed. You know that the road construction will affect it, but we continue pumping money in there. What do you say to that?
No, the road construction hasn't affected it.
Will it affect it?
No.
You don't know if it will affect it?
No, it will not affect it. I mean, listen, we got the permission from the highways people.
Okay.
So it will not affect it. Once we get the buses, you'll see. Now we have just about 2 buses operating from Pokwasi to Kumasi.
Okay.
Once we get the buses, it's going to be a major terminal because that whole corridor from Ofanko to Nsawam, it's a huge corridor. It used to be jungle when we tried. Now it's a metropolis on its own.
Right.
We have to have a presence there, and people come there, and we don't have buses because we operate only 2 buses from there. But when we get the buses, and we are making a lot of arrangements to get new buses to replace the entire fleet. Like I told you,
right.
4 years you need to replace the fleet because you replace them, people will buy them and use them for short. I know, Accra to
Cape Coast.
No, not even Accra to Odoko.
King of Kings.
Yes,
kind of arrangement.
But you don't want to take them 14-hour journey and so on. You have to decommission them. Now, as we speak, 2 delegations are going to leave. One to China, one to Turkey. To go and finalize arrangement for buses.
My producer says that he's getting feedback that the available buses as of this morning is 21, not 50 buses. This is from a driver, having conversations.
A driver, I'm saying the briefing I had yesterday from the operations team was that 10 more buses have been added.
I see. Well,
don't worry yourself with these anonymous.
I should not worry myself with them. Okay. The rear axles of the Daewoo buses are cracking. Is that happening to the Scania? Well, I think this is...
To the Daewoo. Yeah, those are some of the problems that we have with the Daewoo. But like I'm saying, they are due to be scrapped. They are due to be decommissioned from Intercity.
Are your fuel pumps active in your yard?
Yes.
They are active. Yeah. So you don't go out to buy fuel from Goa?
No. We have a dump on our own.
And there's fuel in it as of this morning?
Yesterday, I was briefed that Goyal didn't have fuel. Okay. But that Goyal had said that they were going to get fuel this morning. But if they don't have fuel, the emergency will go to the other stations and buy. It is not our policy to buy fuel from the streets. Okay. We have our own dumps in our terminals, Kumasi and so on. But if they don't have fuel, Goyal doesn't bring fuel. We have to buy from outside.
Kaswa, Galilea, Pokwasi, Kumasi, Abreport, Tamale, Sankpa, terminals, they are all opened with huge sums of money but are all dormant now. Is that the case, sir?
Because we don't have the buses.
Okay. Yeah. So it comes back to the non-availability of the buses.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that really is the concern of the workers. And they know the efforts that management is making to get the buses in. But these terminals are there. As soon as the buses come, they'll be operational. Okay. And they've been carefully selected to take advantage of the market.
Yesterday, when I said that I was going to interview you, somebody said under the post that you deliberately sent old and rickety buses to the north. Is that the case?
No.
They think you don't love them enough. So now you have the platform. Explain to them.
No, that I can understand their frustration.
Right.
I mean, we do services to Wa, Tamale, Navrongo,
right,
Ouagadougou, and so on. These are 14-hour journeys and so on. The buses are not strong enough. Once a while, one of them will break down. But I can assure you, we do 2 to Tamale a day.
Okay.
No, we do 3. We do one at SEC. We do 2 from the terminal. We do to Sunyani twice a day. We do Wa once a day. Because the buses are once a while a bus will break down.
Okay.
And it's so unfortunate. But it's not like every bus is breaking down. And it's not just STC. A lot of buses break down.
Also
These are
because
long,
of the
these are
road,
long journeys,
long
and,
journeys,
and the
right.
roads are really terrible. And if you don't,
Why can't STC run a 24-hour service? That's Clement Kumade.
we run 24 hours.
You do?
Yeah.
So I can walk in at 11 p.m. and get a ticket
Yes, at Circle.
from an STC.
Yes, at Circle.
Circle only.
Yes.
But elsewhere I can't.
No, because what we do mostly at the terminal is they run the scheduled services. But Circle, we run the unscheduled. You can walk in anytime.
Okay.
And get a ticket.
Erickson says snail moving from Accra to Wa is far faster than an STC bus, which can't move beyond Kumasi without visiting a mechanic.
There's always a problem. We have a speed governance on the buses.
Okay.
Because we don't want drivers to overspeed.
Right.
Sometimes passengers complain, especially. So what we do is that we have breaks where after every few hours you go to, so passengers can stretch their legs and so and have some refreshments. But passengers complain. But that is the speed limit, the international speed limit. In that, and that speed limit has been set. If anything happens,
Okay.
the reaction time of the driver can prevent. But we know many of our competitors do not have speed governance.
Okay.
And they can do 140, 150. And it can be frustrating when you are traveling doing a 14-hour journey and you see other buses passing your bus.
Right.
But if anything happens, you are safer. In fact, there's agitation from the drivers themselves that we should increase the speed to 120. 100, and we are considering that for the long distance destinations. When the new buses come, we'll be considering that. But I agree that our buses are a bit slower because we have speed governance, so the driver cannot go beyond a certain speed.
Is the STC financially healthy as of today?
Well, now we're able to pay salaries to everybody on time. We're able to maintain ourselves. If we were to scrap the buses and say some of these routes, we wouldn't be able to pay salaries. So as we speak, even though this is not the best because of the situation with buses, we are paying salaries on time every month. We are paying medical bills. And let me also...
So would you say that you're financially healthy?
No, we are not fine. We could be much better. But we are paying our ADB 2 million a month. We are paying salaries. We are making effort. When we get some good margins, we bring more buses on the road and so on. Let me tell you, we at management, let me tell you that it's not just workers' arrears. Management is also mindful of the situation at the STC. And we also make sacrifices, and the workers are aware. That's why you find out that in all this agitation, nobody is saying management should go, because they are aware. When I got to STC as a CEO, I'm entitled to an official car.
Right.
I didn't allow the company to buy me an official car for 4 years until we got 100 new buses. I used my own car. For 7 years, I haven't asked the board for any variation in my conditions of service. For 7 years. Many of the allowances that are available, funeral allowances and so on, we don't take them. A lot of medical bills that I get, children medical bills, because you and your family, I don't take them.
But your senior staff have not been paid their salaries as we speak.
I am senior staff.
Right. Have you been paid?
I signed the checks yesterday.
So have they received their salaries?
We signed the checks yesterday, so it goes through their banks. So
they haven't received their salaries?
Well, if yesterday we had a long meeting, I signed the checks around 5. I'm sure by midday it will reflect in their banks.
So as we speak, I'm not sure they have their salaries.
I don't know. I haven't checked my bank account, but the checks have been signed. So,
what would you say is your scorecard at the STC?
Oh, it's an unfair question.
It is a fair question.
Go and ask the workers.
Nana, is a fair question.
No, you're asking me to back
Nana
myself.
is a fair question to ask.
What is your scorecard?
No, but Nana,
what is your scorecard?
My scorecard is all over the place.
Okay, me too, is all over the place. So ask them, when next time you speak to the workers, ask them what is the scorecard of the MD.
I should ask them.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure that those of you watching us on Facebook, tell me, what's the scorecard
I'm
of
on
MD?
Facebook.
Yeah. Yes, we're live on Facebook. What do you say to those who claim that, look, STC has all these problems, and they find you on the campaign trail, they find you defending the government with your excellent communication skills, and you have left the STC. What do you say? What do you say? You're doing more Akomea work than STC work. What do you say to that?
If that was an issue, that was the first thing the workers would have complained about.
Okay.
I mean, if anybody told me that, look, Akomea is sitting at 3 FM, and so because of that, STC doesn't have buses, it would be ridiculous. I mean, are you going to tell Akomea that there are difficulties now with the macro situation and so on? Why is he campaigning? Are you going to be able to ask him that?
The people have said that.
So, well, but of course, it's politics. But he still has to campaign. I mean, if anybody said to you that sitting here is going to affect my work at STC, I'm sure you find it ridiculous.
Well, I'm asking this because, you see, SNIT, which we all contribute to, has 80% shares in STC.
Yes.
And so if I put my money there, and then I'm not seeing the dividends come to me, because I'm looking at the 2021 Auditor General's report. There are 10 companies, including beloved STC, that for 10 years didn't give any dividends at all to SNIT.
Yeah.
Bad business, if you ask me, that I put my money there and I don't get anything.
You know, SNIT recently have
So the people who are asking this are not just the workers. It's the totality of Ghanaians who are asking that question.
So they say what? So Nana Akomea should not come on radio?
They say you are doing more Akomea work. You are preaching Akomea's gospel than SNIT's gospel.
I take that in a light version. It cannot be a serious thing. I mean, if anybody told you that by coming here for an hour to hang with you and throw light on the issues, that is going to not allow us to get new buses, I'm sure you laugh about it. It cannot be a serious... I go to the office, I'm the last to leave. If you ask the workers, they'll tell you.
I see. Okay, let's switch into Dr. Akomea. Why does he want to be president? He's been vice president. People think that he has enjoyed the benefit of power. He has done...
Because he believes he has a contribution to make in Ghana's progress. And let me tell you, the contest is between two people, John Mahama, Dr. Akomea.
You don't see Cheddar, you don't see Alan Tremanting.
Please.
You don't see... Why Alan Tremanting is a tower? Why you don't see him?
If you look at the record of third-party results from 2000, 2024, 2028,
2004,
2008, up to third-party results. When you combine even those with parties, CPP and the other parties, what do they get? 3%? So the record of third-party, the system of first past the post doesn't encourage third parties. And any political scientist will tell you this. When you have proportional representation, where it is not first past the post, then they will say CPP got 1.2%. So they have to have 1.2% representation in parliament. Maybe it's 1%. They will say this party got 1.8%. They have to have. So that one, they can thrive. But when you have first past the post, like our system, it's difficult. And everybody knows this. Look at America.
So Alan should go and sleep.
One second. In America, they've been practicing this in over 200. Have you seen the emergence of third? Because they also practice first past the post. So I don't see why these gentlemen bother themselves. You know, you mentioned Alan. One regret that I have is that if he's a stalwart in the party, if he had stayed in the party, I'm sure this issue about running mates would have been fairly settled.
But he said he doesn't want to play second fiddle. He wants to be the main man.
But you are not going to be the main man. with this your butterfly thing. You are not. Are you going to vote for him? No, he's not going to.
My vote is secret.
So let me come back to Baumia
Dr. Baumia.
and Mahama.
What is he bringing to the table?
Oh, you had his UPSA speech. Yeah, a lot of fantastic new ideas. And we can speak to it in a second, in a minute, if you like. But I just want to look at the two personalities quickly.
Right.
When you look at the two personalities head to head, one has been president before. In fact, he had the longest time, 4.5 years. But he is the only president in the Fourth Republic who was not given a second term. Every other president who finished his term was given a second term. Jerry Rawlings, J. Akufo-Addo. Mills couldn't finish his term.
Right.
So Mahama is the only president who was not given a second term.
And they say it's because you hoodwink the people. He's incompetent, he's this, corrupt, he's that.
Let's get serious.
No, that's what they say.
But it's ridiculous. The Ghanaian electorate, people like yourself,
right,
are very sophisticated people. So to say they were hoodwink is an insult to their intelligence. So the bottom line is that one of them has been president before.
Right.
Fortunately for him, he got the longest period in the history of the Fourth Republic for a first-term president.
Right.
His record was not good. And so he was rejected by Ghanaians as incumbent president by the largest margin of any elections in the Fourth Republic. By the largest, no incumbent president has been rejected, number one. Number two, his rejection was the largest rejection of any election in the Fourth Republic. Nearly 1 million votes. Even the second rejection, which was about 500, is still the second largest rejection. So what the records show is that between the two gentlemen, one has had a chance to be president. His performance did not meet the approval or expectation of Ghanaians. Dr. Baumia is a fresh face.
Okay.
And if you give me the option of a fresh face and a face that has failed, I'll choose the fresh face, because that one, you haven't seen what he can do.
On whose record will Dr. Baumia be campaigning?
Dr. Baumia will be campaigning on the record of the Akufo-Addo government and his own vision. Now, the things that I've heard people complain about, my brothers and sisters in the NDC, and also they say there's hardship.
Does that mean when you complain about the conditions in the country now you're NDC?
No, I said I've heard it from people,
right,
and also from
your brothers in the NDC, right?
Now there's hardship. They say there's corruption. I mean, somebody from the government side will say that in the period before COVID, the macro situation was much better than any other period. It was COVID and the difficulties that COVID brought that has, and Ghana is not away, we're part of the world, and these difficulties are worldwide.
But you had an extended IMF program prior to COVID. Fact.
Yes.
So it was the IMF holding your hand before COVID struck, and when COVID struck, it became worse. And you had to run back to the IMF.
Yeah, but IMF is still holding our hand.
Right.
Yeah.
After you said you will not go to the IMF.
We changed our minds because of the practical difficulties. When we said we will not go to the IMF, we were standing on a stone. You remember?
The stone was e-levy.
The stone was e-levy.
But e-levy is still here and IMF is still there.
But e-levy did not work as we anticipated.
So scrap it, and then let's use IMF money.
Well, it will come.
That was the condition.
It will come to it. It will come to
when?
It. We will scrap. Oh, if it doesn't come before December, Baumia says you scrap it.
But he is the number 2 now. He's the economic brain of the government.
But that decision, doesn't rest on him solely. This is not a Baumia government. This is an Akufo-Addo government. So the two gentlemen that you have, all the complaints they say there's corruption. They say economic difficulty. They say it's bad governance. They say there's arrogance. Yeah, I was listening. I'm just quoting what the lady, the running mate.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, corruption is bad governance. There's arrogance, family and friends, and all of that. Listen, all those grievances and complaints, you could make the same grievances and complaints against Mahama.
Family and friends?
Have you forgotten? Do you know when the term family and friends came into Ghana's political dictionary?
Tell me.
It was coined by Abam Bagbin,
right,
current speaker, and he used it to describe the John Mahama government. He is the first person who used the term family and friends.
Right.
And he used it to describe John Mahama's government. This is 2013.
And who were the family members in John Mahama's government at the time?
I'm saying. So this complaint about family and friends, I'm assuming people have genuine complaints.
Right.
But you have the same complaint against Mahama.
No, I'm saying that so in John Mahama's instance, for example, who were the family and friends in his government? And then you can mirror that against President Akufo-Addo's government. Who are his family and his friends?
Let me not mention individuals. It would not be fair to them.
But that is what we're discussing.
We were a bit surprised about family and friends applied to Mahama, and I'm saying that.
No, I'm not surprised. I'm just asking you.
Actually,
you've been doing. Interestingly, you've been doing a lot of analysis since we started this Akomea campaign.
Yeah.
The conversation.
Oh, I have.
Juxtaposing.
You've been listening to me.
Yes.
You've been following me.
Yes, I'm following you now.
Okay.
You've been doing a lot of analysis. Yes. That if you put Mahama here, put Mahama here. If you put this, you put that. Now I'm asking you to put family and friends in one context as against the other, and you say you can't mention the names. There are names.
Yes.
There are names that were mentioned when Aban Bagbin spoke. Then, so it's not a matter of being fair.
Aban Bagbin didn't mention any names. He just said that this is a government of family and friends.
Right.
Which means that it was an issue. And it's still an issue today.
But the president now today is surrounded by his family and friends.
You may say that, in your view, is more pronounced today. My point is that it was also present in Mahama's government.
Okay.
So they talk about the economy.
But if you criticized it then, why are you amplifying it now in terms of the practice?
No, I'm saying that the criticism, one of them is family and friends.
Right.
You can lay the same criticism against Mahama. And when I build my point, you understand where I'm coming from. I'm saying all of these things, corruption, that they're making a major issue about.
You made it a big issue in opposition to now.
Yes. So you can make the same issue, and if we're going to talk about corruption in Mahama's government, we're not going to leave your studio this morning. Arrogance, bad governance, you can lay the same blame, the economy, whatever. So if you are looking for an alternative in the face of these complaints, it cannot be Mahama.
Was the Mahama administration more corrupt than this administration led by Nana Addo?
It was a big issue in Mahama. I don't know how you're going to measure it, but Afrobarometer after Afrobarometer, and you are a consumer of media.
Right.
In Mahama's time, corruption was a big issue.
Is it still a big issue now?
It's still a big issue today.
Is it more pronounced?
As for pronounced, you even agree. Let's say it's pronounced, but I'm saying that it's still an issue in Mahama's time. So if you are looking for an alternative to fight corruption, it cannot be Mahama.
How confident does...
Don't you agree?
How confident... I don't have an opinion. I am asking the questions.
But you agree with the analysis, at least.
Well, you're doing... That's why I invited you to do the analysis.
Because, listen, it's a very simple matter. The things that we say we want an improvement on, we want an improvement in corruption, we want an improvement in unemployment, we want an improvement in the economy, the city, we want an improvement in governance and all of that. I'm saying if we want that improvement, these same difficulties attended upon the 4.5 years of Mahama. So if we want an improvement, it cannot be Mahama. Because his record is there.
Has the improvement come? Unemployment figures above 14%.
Listen.
a CD to dollar today, CD to pound, CD to euro, a fuel prices irrespective of gold for oil. You can talk about bad roads, even though we have a year of roads, second year of roads, another year of roads. You can talk about the plethora of things. Today people are talking about the price of tomatoes, pepper. Yes. We have had planting for food and jobs, rearing for food and jobs, planting for export and rural development. If you look at all these things, initiatives that were put in place to ensure that these things don't happen, and in the long run they are happening, you tend to ask your question, how confident Dr. Bawumia feels crisscrossing the country and campaigning to the people that, well, when I come, everything will change.
Because these things have not happened when under his watch.
I don't understand. Is he abandoning President Akufo-Addo?
No.
Because if you say that will amount to a vote of no confidence in the president.
Listen, Bawumia, you would agree, is the person in the front when it comes to championing some of the achievements of Akufo-Addo. There's nowhere he speaks without talking about some of the achievements.
Right.
So he hasn't abandoned Akufo-Addo. But I'm saying that if you compare him to Mahama, person to person, head to head, he hasn't got a record of these things happening under his watch because he has never been president. He has never been in charge. Whereas with Mahama, he was fully in charge. He told us what he was going to do about corruption. And I'm sure you remember what he told us in 2012, what he told us in 2013, and so on. What he was going to do about the economy, about corruption, about governance, about constitution changes, about all of that. The record was poor.
I'm still trying to understand.
So if you put him head to head with Bawumia, Bawumia hasn't got this record that John Mahama has, simply because he has never been president.
I'm still trying to understand. I mean, this is the chairman of the police council, chairman of the prisons council, chairman of the army council, head of the economic management team, and the president has not failed to remind us that he brought Dr. Bawumia in to use his brain, to govern on the economic side.
I am sure you have heard a lot of...
How then do you say that it was not his government when the president says, I brought him in specifically because I'm not well versed in economic issues. I want him to come and run that side of the government for me.
How can you equate the office of the vice president with the office of the president? How can you do that?
I'm not doing an equation. I'm saying that the president himself, in fact, the last time the president met school children at the Jubilee House, he said, Dr. Bawumia has been fantastic, and I've hinged on his advice in many instances to take decisions. Essentially.
So does it mean that when there is some failure, then it's Bawumia?
Should he not tag along with his boss?
But he tags along. There's a difference. I see your confusion now.
Okay.
There's a difference between collective responsibility and individual responsibility. So Bawumia, as a member of the Akufo-Addo government, he admits to the difficulties. He doesn't take himself away from the difficulties. But the attempt to pin him as individually responsible for the difficulties, that cannot wash.
So, for example, the matter of e-levy.
Yeah. I was coming to that.
Yes.
You would also agree that there's a record of his own disagreements with some of the policies of the government. Yeah. He's spoken out about the way some of these things should go. And his government has gone against his ideas. E-levy is one point. So he's part of the government, he's part of the collective. But the efforts of the NDC in particular to make him individually blamable will not wash. It doesn't make sense.
Nana, Ghana has a beautiful history. You talk about President Nkrumah's regime, you talk about Professor Buzier's regime, you come down to Hilary Liman's regime, talk about Rawlins's regime.
All of those people.
It was your party that brought in this linkage of president and vice president. So,
I don't understand.
You started
what
this
linkage?
Under the Mills Mahama administration. It was your party that started that in opposition under the Mills Mahama administration. In fact, nobody said under the Kufuor Mahama administration. you said President Kufuor presidency. You brought it. Why is it difficult now to accept that there's a Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led administration and that the failure must be shared, if there is any?
I have said to you that Bawumia, as a member of the government, is also part of the collective.
Right.
What my NDC friends try to do is say, oh no, it is Bawumia. And you know that is not tenable. But as a part of the collective, Bawumia has no problem admitting the difficulties and projecting a way out. And when you look at the projection out, his ideas are fantastic.
Professor Smasapon says in a recent poll that Dr. Bawumia is the most preferred candidate as compared to John Mahama.
Okay.
What do you say?
Well, my understanding is that individual against individual,
right,
people will prefer
Dr. Bawumia
over John Mahama. But you see, my attitude to polls is that these are projections. The real poll is the election.
That's right.
And polls or opinion surveys, 7 months to election. In politics, even a week is a long time.
That's right.
Yes. So opinion surveys and polls, 7 months, 8 months to elections, I don't give much score. What my attitude to polls is that if the poll says, if I'm working at STC, if the workers' opinion is that MD is doing well, he's been with us, we like his administration, it encourages me to do more.
Okay.
So as not to let them down. If the opinion survey among STC workers is that MD is not doing well, he's responsible for days we're not getting the new buses yet, and responsible for the we're not a. What it does to me is that, okay, I must do better to meet the expectations. So if the polls say we are winning, it encourages me to keep it up. I'm the front runner. But if the polls say I'm not winning, it encourages me to catch up.
But the polls also say that your candidate, Dr. Bawumia, is more popular than the party on whose ticket he's running.
Yeah.
And that's problematic because people must first know the party, accept it before they go for the presidential candidate.
Yes.
If not, you have a skirt and blouse situation.
No, it's a problem. Yeah. But like I said, so if I am in charge of the party, and really, I think by party they mean government. We all agree that with the current difficulties, the government cannot be very popular. I mean, we all agree.
Your communicators don't agree. They tell a different story.
What do they say?
They say, well, we're there. It's blame COVID, Russia, Ukraine. They never accept a portion of the blame.
No.
Your government has never said sorry to the people of Ghana.
For
example, a case in point when you say, we will not go to IMF. This was said in Parliament, the late John Kuma, Befi, John, what do you call it? Kenu Foria, Tako Jopon Kruma. We had road shows, etc. We will not go to IMF. Then we went to IMF, bam. A simple apology, I think, would have...
Mahama didn't say he was going to IMF, but he went to IMF.
Yeah, but you said you will not go.
Mahama too said he will not go. You remember Senchi? The opening speech he gave at Senchi. He said, we're not going to go to IMF.
Right.
But you see...
And you criticized him for it.
We don't criticize him for the economic failure. The IMF thing is actually a plus for the government.
Is it?
Yes. And I've shown you. It's just that you are not listening.
What did you say?
Let me repeat it. The government says we are going to rely on our own strength. We are not going to kowtow before this international institution. And why did the government say it? The government said, I'm bringing this new policy called e-levy. I'm hoping to get $1 billion from $1 billion cedis from this money in a year. These are my projections. So let's rely on our own strength. So we're not going to go to the IMF. Then these are our projections. I know what the projections of government were. In the event, the projections did not turn up as government had projected. It shows bravery to say that, listen, we wanted to go this way and not the IMF, and we've gone that way. After 2-3 months, it's not working. So we have to go to the IMF. That is real politics.
But the people are still paying the e-levy.
Sorry?
The people are still paying e-levy.
Yes, but the government
still collecting IMF money.
The government didn't say, look, IMF money is just to help you to balance your payments. But for your long-term development, it's not IMF. It's just a 3-year program. Let me.
Now, whatever we're looking for from the IMF, right? If you look at the Auditor General's report and we try to salvage what we lose to corruption alone, I'm not sure we'll go to the IMF. And so people ask the question, what happened to Ghana Beyond Aid? Very important, beautiful ideology was launched, or Safumafu was put in charge. And now Ghana Beyond Aid is in need of aid?
You know, our issues have been canvassed. You and I know the issues that confront us, confront our development. You and I, we know. What we need is leadership that will drive it. I'm saying that if you are looking at a leader who will drive it, you're not going to go to a leader who was given the opportunity to drive it and he failed. You're not going to go to somebody you've tried and who failed. You're looking for new leadership to drive the agenda that all of us agree and know has to be done.
What is your message to the NABCO people?
What's the problem?
They are old arrears. They say you have abandoned them. These days, you don't even talk about them as an achievement of job creation by the government.
It's a stigma that government must correct quickly.
And who corrected? Dr. Baumia has the opportunity to correct it. Dr. Ibrahim Anyas, who was at the helm of affairs at NABCO, is in his campaign team with you.
I'm saying that government should correct it quickly.
How?
It's an embarrassment. By paying them. And I'm hoping that it will be paid very soon.
Did I hear Dr. Baumia say that parent-teacher associations will be put together to look at the food arrangements for free SHS? He said that.
Parent-teacher, I've never,
PTAs.
I haven't heard.
Well, it was announced that 2 days ago.
They were put together to do what?
PTAs will now be in charge of managing food supplies in the schools and all of that. So that's the issues of shortage and this crying thing will stop.
Do you know that food shortages in secondary schools were present in your time? Yes, so they were present in my time. They were present before my time. So we have to change the way we do food and feeding in secondary schools.
All right.
If we're going to do it the same way we've been doing it, we'll still have shortages. We've had shortages in secondary school food administration before I went to secondary school. When I was in secondary school, there were many years, many terms when the term was cut short because there was no food.
Right.
In your time, I'm sure there were many times when the term was cut short because there was no food. We have to do things differently. So anybody who suggests a different way out, we have to listen. For example, if you ask me, this school feeding at the basic level,
right,
and there are all these problems, we have to reform. One way that we can reform, and this is just my personal opinion, is not to just license one woman or one caterer, because then it's a monopoly.
Right.
And so whether she gives rotten tomatoes or gas oil, the children have no option. Rather, license 4, 5 caterers in every school. When there's competition and there's choice, the caterers will live up. It's a simple reform that I believe. So anybody who suggests a reform to a situation that all of us are not happy with and that has persisted over 40 years, we should listen to them. It's the new ideas that we need.
I see.
And the personality that can drive. You've tried John Mahama, he couldn't drive.
So we should give the steer to Dr. Baumia.
There's no other choice.
How does Dr. Baumia feel? Final question. I told you I've overrun. How does Dr. Baumia feel when his tapes are being played back to him?
He will not be happy.
I see your good friend Randy Abbey plays a few of the tapes.
Bawumia is not happy.
He's not happy
Of
when
course,
the tapes are played back.
Listen, if we play John Mahama's tapes in 2012 and 2013 and so on, he will not be happy. So Bawumia will not be happy. But the difference is that John Mahama was in charge. It was his government. He had a mandate of the country as president. The executive authority in this country is vested in the president. Bawumia has never been president.
So when the tapes are played for him, he feels sad?
Because those things have not been realized. That he is part of a team. He says that, give me the mandate and see what I will do.
In 2020, he said, this just came in. In 2020, Dr. Bawumia said that the Pwalugu multipurpose dam had been constructed and is one of the star projects that had been done.
It was going to be constructed.
No,
as
he said
he hasn't finished.
No, he said it.
Where is it?
Well, he said it at Asempa FM.
That he has been constructed?
Yes, I've played that tape here. He said
where is it?
It is the star project that has been done. Fast forward to 2024, we are now learning that $12 million have been spent on mobilization alone, and the project has not been done. How does he reconcile the two?
Number one, Bawumia will never say, I'll be extremely surprised if he says that the project has been completed. The project has not been completed. At the sword cutting, it was touted as the biggest investment in the northern regions because of the almost $1 billion in a single project. But it hasn't been completed because funding is not available as we speak. So I'll be extremely surprised if somebody were to tell me that Bawumia said it has been completed. Now, the matter of the 12 million, this is for the irrigation part. And I understand it was given as mobilization. And normally in contracts, there is some mobilization. But I'm happy that it's being investigated. And I support the investigation. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's find out who paid the money, and let's find out what has been done. What kind of mobilization has been done with it. There shouldn't be a problem. We should go into it full time.
Nana Akomea, I want to thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. And I wish you well for your board meeting this morning. You're meeting the board.
When I wanted to come and hang with you, it looked like you were a bit...
No. That's how
Send me some long text.
That's how I am. I like to write as much as I speak, so... Is there...
No, I said, oh, Charlie, let's hang. I haven't seen you. You used to vote for me, I understand. So I said...
I used to vote in your constituency.
You've made some observations.
My vote is still my secret.
You've made some... but everybody knows you can't be in my constituency. Sorry, like you are not vote for me. But I said, oh, Charlie, let's hang.
In the northern part
you used to vote for me, I understand. So
I
said,
I used to vote in your constituency.
You've made some observations.
This signature project in the north.
But everybody knows you can't be in my constituency. Sorry, like you are not vote for me. But
I think here the most important project here in the north since independence, a Pwalugu Dam project.
Okay.
Is the biggest investment. Say we're drawing books no more since independence.
Okay. As I watch it.
How watch government be by say Pwalugu Dam. But we're here as a signature project and in Ebeda number one, so there's no doubt about that. Pwalugu Dam, no, it's F.
Can you beat your chest and say this signature project in the north?
I think here the most important project here in the north.
But you know,
No,
but you know the man is not
a
cheese speaker like you and me.
No,
But the project has not even today hasn't been completed, so
it's
he
not
cannot
even
be
started.
So he cannot be saying it's been completed.
In 2020, he knew what he was talking about.
Give the man a little break.
Yo, Mate, bye.
OCG, no one